A Hashtag Studios production. Okay, so this is going to be a quiz video on Chapter 6 of the ITGS textbook titled Multimedia. It's going to be a quiz testing your understanding of the chapter, having read it. So, introduction. Having read the chapter and all of its details, it is time to test how well you know the content through a series of questions straight from the textbook. Like all the other videos, the best way to go about this is the questions will be presented first in order, and then the answers will be presented in the order the questions came. So after each question shows, pause the video, record your answers, and then you can compare them to the answers in this video. Okay, so the first question. Consider the scenarios below. Discuss whether it is ethical to change the images in the ways described. So the first scenario. A common problem with photographs is red eye. When the flash on the camera is bright that it causes the subject eyes to appear in a red color, a photograph may have the problem of red eye. Many modern cameras have features to reduce red eye, and software programs often have very easy to use tools to remove it. In this situation, is it ethical to change the photos in the way described? So record your answer for this scenario, and there'll be another one on the next slide. Alright, so the second scenario. A photojournalist covers a war. Many of her photographs show the carnage of the war, including dead bodies. Because the photographs contain large amounts of blood and gore, the newspaper would be breaking the law of their country if they printed the picture. The editor of the paper suggests altering the picture to remove the pools of blood from the ground, thus making it acceptable for printing. He argues that it is better to show some of the impact of the war, using the altered photos, than to show no pictures of the war at all. In this situation, is it ethical to change the photos in the ways described? Go ahead and record your answers. Okay, second question. Break out your calculators. It's going to involve a little bit of calculations. There's 3 different questions here. Calculate the storage space required by the following images. So the first one is a 640 by 480 image with 16 colors. The second is a 1024 by 768 image with 256 colors. And the third is defined as a high-definition HD TV picture. If you go back and refer to the chapter, those values can be found on the charts in the section of the textbook where this question was drawn from. So go ahead and record those calculations, and they'll be depicted in the answers later on. Okay, the third question is a multi-part. A small dry cleaning business wishes to enlarge its customer base by increasing its advertising profile. It is considering creating promotional leaflets or simple website. Part 1. State 2 file formats commonly used for storing documents, and distinguish word processing software and desktop publishing software. Part 2. Explain why documents are often saved as PDF files when they are distributed. And Part 3. Analyze the arguments for creating promotional paper leaflets rather than a website for this business. So go ahead and record your answers. Okay, so moving on to the answers. For the first question, it was asking whether or not changing the photos would be ethical in each situation. For scenario 1, there really isn't a way it could be unethical unless someone doesn't want you changing their pictures. Most people will agree that any way to increase the quality of the photos, unless it changes something that they don't want changed, most people agree that that's a benefit more than something harmful, and so there really won't be many cases in which removing red eye would be something unethical, unless, of course, someone actually has some kind of an objection to it. The second scenario is the same can't be said, because this depends on a lot of factors, but the most important one would be how does the photojournalist feel about the newspaper company changing the photos? Are they okay with that? Because that person took the photos, so they have the right over whether or not they should be changed. And if the newspaper company just wants to change them just to scoot around the laws and post their story, it may not be right, especially if the photojournalist doesn't want the photos changed. Okay, so the second question. These calculations came straight from examples in the textbook. And so basically the same way as the example calculation showed in the chapter is how you would go about calculating the photo values. The dimensions of the photograph times the byte value for how many colors they contain. Now those values were placed in a chart in the textbook, and that's pretty much the only place where you can go to find those, so refer back to that chart if you needed them. Basically, you multiply the dimensions by the byte value. That will give you the amount of bytes, and then dividing that by 1024 will give you how many kilobytes the file size is. Same for the second question. The only difference in the third question is that it could again be divided by 1024 for megabytes, in which case you see the answers for A, 150 kilobytes, B, 768 kilobytes, and C, 5.9 megabytes, or 6,075 kilobytes. Okay, so the third question wanted two files in which documents are often stored, and two most common ones are Word document, as most people know who have Microsoft Word, and rich text format. And then it wanted to distinguish between word processing software and desktop publishing software. So word processing are programs that aid in the line-by-line construction of text-based documents. That's basically what they're concerned with mostly, is just text documents. Whereas desktop publishing allows for more complex pages of both text and graphics to be edited for publication. The second part wanted to know why PDF files are often used when distributing documents. PDF files can embed text in the form of a photo so that files can appear the same on all machines, and PDF viewers are usually able to work on all types of computers. And then this third part goes back to the prompt and it asks, why might paper leaflets be better than building a website for this company? And so it may be argued that because this is such a small company, a website might not be the best first step for an advertising campaign. Most companies start with simpler methods of advertising, such as paper leaflets, and work their way up to media-based advertising. This is usually because higher costs are associated with tasks like building a website, and also, until they have a larger consumer base, there really isn't enough information that warrants the creation of a website. And so in this case, the promotional paper documents would be better than the website.